The shark girls were hotter than the normal girls. Yeah, I'm weebing, but it is what it is.
Plus, you're always right, right?
I'm never wrong. I haven't been wrong a single time in my entire life.
Preach.
But I'm all about the man speedo. You've seen him a million times. How many hours do I have? Oh, that's a New World.
A lot.
I have 1,800 hours on Lost Ark. That's
thousands of hours. You can literally say that. Do you feel good about that?
I feel something.
I'm saying.
So earlier this week, I didn't think that this would be relevant to anything, but we watched a movie with shark people on the moon that were Russian that didn't need spacesuits. Not only were the shark girls extra thick, it was weird. Like the shark girls were hotter than the normal girls. Yeah, I'm weebing, but it is what it is. The problem is I didn't realize that when I saw shark people for the first time in a movie, that when I went and played Amazon's new FPS Shatterline, that they were also going to be in there in the PvE mode. Probably just like, what was that one game called that they turned off after like 3 days? Paragon, yeah. So we'll probably see Shatterline turned off along with Paragon because both of those games are terrible.
I hate Shatterline, man. I kind of enjoyed the 4-hour PvE, never-ending PvE loop.
I bet you did. I bet you did. I bet you your brain looks like it's leaking out of your brain. You look like your brain's a liquid.
I kind of like they added a PvE mode to level up your weapons, because we tried to do the PvP part and you realized you had to level up weapons because the best weapons are locked behind.
My brain was lagging when we were doing PvP because it's that constant, you know, when you're running forward in a game and the server's not very good and there's only like 1,000 people online. It's like we've played New World before. I'm stuttering backwards, like it's constantly pulling you back a little bit and you're jerking back and you're trying to shoot the people and you're like, yeah.
What's happening?
The PvP felt terrible, right? Which is pretty normal for an Amazon Games experience. And then when we jumped into the PvE, the shark people were there.
Oh, and the gameplay loop was so bad for that.
Yeah, it's like, go pick up, go do this. It's like,
you go to a supply box, right? You go to one supply box, a bunch of enemies spawn, they drop onto you, and you instantly gat them down, and it's done. Then you
go to the next one.
No, you talk to the box. Then you get a weird PvE ability that you might not even use. I think the most useful thing I got was an orange grenade.
I got cloak and a shotgun that didn't do anything. And I'm going to have this playing in the background so everybody can see the true majesty that is Shatterline. But what I really thought was interesting was the inspiration of shark people that transcended this Russian movie that was one of the most horrifying things I ever watched in my entire life. But porting it into a crappy game is literally all I could have ever asked them to do. So when I see what they're doing with Shatterline, it really makes me see and wonder what happened to Lost Ark, right? Because we have a player survey out right now, and this player survey definitely wouldn't be there if they knew that they were doing proper to the game, because in KR, the game's doing really well. The game's pretty fun. Everybody's pretty happy with the game in KR, but everybody in NAEU, SA hates the game because it sucks, right? And it is what it is. It's a fun game, but we've had a bunch of bad updates. So make sure you go fill that player survey out, because it's literally like Daddy Bezos, you know, pulled up and he was just like, we went from 1.3 million people down to 90,000 in like 6 months. What's going on?
Is a smiley face with a thumbs up, and the worst thing you vote for is just a full-on crying face. That's how bad it can get. And I remember just pressing a crying face every single time.
I push the ultimate happy face because I want them to keep going in that direction on Shatterline. That's for sure. But like with Lost Ark, dude, honestly, I'm excited for the clown update. I think it's going to be pretty good. And I wasn't allowed to be in the partnership program because of the way I'm recording this. You can see my amazing hat spelt backwards, right? But I'll pop me up right here to show that really I love Amazon. Jeffrey Bezos is my absolute hero. The problem is,
be honest. You want to be right to his yacht. It's not going to
happen. I'll get on that yacht. You'll see. I'll get on the yacht. So I got leaked this right here from anonymous sources, of course, because I'm not allowed to be partnered. We just won't talk about it. But apparently with the clown update, we're going to get the tripod system, the class balance, the battle pass, and the clown raid. Now, the no cope about the clown raid is very simple. It's going to destroy the majority of statics like it did in KR, and it's going to make a bunch of people really mad. However, it's going to make everybody a lot better at the game because the clown raid's actually a lot of fun, It's got Super Mario elements. It's got all these fun little intricate things that you can do, and a million ways for you to wipe your team, right?
Everybody's not going to want to play with their friends anymore.
No, nobody's playing with their friends anymore. Hey,
your friends down.
You don't have friends anymore
Hey,
after you
Bob,
play
I'm
Cloud.
not playing with you. Bye.
But no, I think it's going to be a really good experience for the game. And I think that you'll probably see the players jump quite a bit. And if the update's done well and done properly, I think that they could actually like fix Lost Ark up, probably revitalize it quite a bit. It's just that the new player experience needs to be like completely revamped for NAEU. I always thought that when you first come into the game, you should probably be able to do normal mode like Vicus, like 1430, pretty much right off the rip. A bunch of people disagreed with me on that. And I was like, who cares, bro? Like they go do normal Vicus, like it's easy. You can literally carry a normal Vicus on like a 1440 character or whatever, 1445 when you can get Relic, you're like, no problem, right? So it's really not that big of a deal to have like
plus
the newer people come. What's that?
Plus you're always right, right?
I'm never wrong. I haven't been wrong a single time in my entire life.
Preach.
But I really think that like if the new player experience was like I log in and like they get you to like 14, 15, but the gold generation isn't high enough. And I pitched this last time and I put it in my review too. Is like instead of 6 characters, it lets you select 6 characters to get gold and rewards on. But if you could take those 6 characters and reduce them down, so like let's say instead of 6 characters, I only had 1. I have 1 character. I only select my 1 guy. What if that 1 guy got times 6 rewards, right? I don't need 6 characters, but for the week he gets 6 times the rewards. So it's like I'm playing 1 character, but I'm getting 6 characters worth of rewards. I think that that's a much better model for NAEU because honestly, it seems like the main problem is I have to log in and do a million dailies, which I don't like either. Nobody wants to log in and do dailies all day. It's boring. 2-3 hours of dailies, like chores, like you're doing. They call it homework in KR, right? If you gave more people this option, because like honestly, like if we're just going to be real, having to do 6 characters for progression in Lost Ark causes burnout and makes people quit the game, right?
Oh no, you're wrong.
But if you could reduce that down to like 1 to 2 characters, and you could choose the amount of characters, right? Let's say you only have, like I only have my Berserker and my Destroyer. I sold my other characters off, right? If I could do ×3 on the Berserker and ×3 on the Destroyer, I'd probably log in every day and do all their stuff at a ×3. You know what I mean? And like it's the same thing. I just don't have to play 6 characters to do it. And well, it might be like a little, oh, but you're getting so much more of a reward. It's like, no, you get more opportunities on the other characters if you play all 6 to get more gains like over time. Like it'll work out for you, right? Because you have so much more access to stuff.
Yeah.
Because you're like, oh, well, I got this much more, like whatever. Like there's just more stuff you can do, right? Like 6 times the amount of anything. But if you combine it all into those 1 to 2 characters, I really think Lost Ark could like really pump because a lot of people don't want to play 6 characters. Like I just want to play my main guy. That's it.
Do you think anybody in the world likes 6 characters in Lost Ark?
Well, I think you got to look at like Final and WoW and stuff, right? It's like, would you want 6 individual characters on Final or WoW? Never, right? Do you want 6 individual characters on Lost Ark? It gives you the ability to, but like, do you actually want to play 6 guys every day? Ah, dude, I see everybody complaining about that, bro.
I never played a game where everybody just liked every class. Never happened, man.
Well, right, but then you get the problem where people make 6 of the same character, but then you need 6 of everything, and then you're like, come on, man, like this is
just
ridiculous.
Repeating. That's like super tedious. That's even more tedious on top of doing.
Well, it's to get your game time up, right? And like I'd understand that from the perspective of me wanting to go sit in like an internet cafe to get my game time up, but I really think if they were like, okay, like these different regions have different needs. If you just multiplied my, like, I only want to play my main this week. I'm like, I don't have a lot of time. I got to go on vacation. I got to work. I just have stuff. I'm just busy this week, right? And a lot of people could relate to that. A lot of people couldn't, right? So instead of playing 6 characters every day for the week, I could log into my 1 guy, blast my stuff out in 30 minutes every single day. And like, you know, or maybe not even 30, maybe 20, you know what I mean? But it's like, I'm still going to get on the game, but I'm going to be more inclined to get on the game because like I get to go play my favorite character. I get to do my favorite moves and I get to do all this stuff. It doesn't hurt anybody else, but it just makes my experience better. And I think that for new people coming into the game, having a multiplied by 6 bonus would make it even better. Like just imagine, instead of picking 6 characters for gold, you remove that, and then you can still pick 6 characters if you want to play 6 different characters, but you can put all 6 of those bonuses, you take 5 of them away, and you juice all 5 of them into your main. And then your main, you log in, you go do like hard mode Vault and hard mode Vicus. You get 6 times the gold, you get 6 times the rewards, but it's all in your main. It's all in your main character. I think that that would be so much better for everybody, for us, honestly. I think that it would make it more fun for the people who don't want to play 10 characters or don't have all day to play the game, right? Like it really, the game rewards you for spending like tons of time on it, right?
Creates accessibility, right?
Right. It just makes it more accessible for more people. And I think that a lot of people would push against it, but you don't want the game to die. You want more people you want new people to come in and be like, wait, this is actually fun. I want to keep playing.
Fresh
right?
blood. You need new recruits.
Bro, you can already see the downtrend on the game. People hate it. Like the current system does not work. And my solution can be implemented like literally immediately, super simply with like minor changes, right? And it would make it more fun for everybody. Imagine you're like, oh, 6-time Chaos Dungeon Awards. Does it seem a little ridiculous to do that on one character? To me, it doesn't seem ridiculous, right? But it's a quick implement, it's a quick fix to make more people have more fun. People are like, what about the bots?
I mean, at the end of the day,
they're getting
everybody
banned
likes
now.
bots because it keeps the economy cheap.
Yeah, the bots do keep the economy cheap, but when there's like 500,000 or 600,000 bots, it just ruins everything. So it is what it is.
Bots. That was a weird scenario on Lost Ark.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what happens when you let the bots run rampant and stuff. But like, I'm really like, okay, if what I was leaked is true, and it's the tripods, the class balance, the battle pass, and the raid. Like, I didn't understand why they didn't do a raid or a battle pass with the summer thing. Like, Vicus came like summer event. Like, that would have been a great time for about like spring battle pass, summer battle pass, fall battle pass. Everybody's cool paying for a battle pass. Nobody really cares. Like, I don't think I've ever seen anybody complain about it.
Get a bathing suit from the battle pass.
Hey, I'm in.
Right?
I'll pop a picture of my character screen up here. Like, I'm just as sus, but I'm all about the man speedo. You've seen him a million times. The main thing that I want to say here is making the game more accessible for new people will do nothing but good things and just bring more people in. You got the new clown raid that's like, it's challenging. There's only one difficulty, so there's no cope on it, right? You can't say, oh, I'm going to do normal, I'm going to go do hard. You're just going to go do your one difficulty. You're going to either hate it or really enjoy it, right?
Yeah.
But new people come in and you got to think like, you know, with the last pass that we got, getting to 14-15 was pretty simple. But getting past 14-15 is pretty difficult because your gold generation sucks. Most people don't want to spend time on 6 characters. Getting to 14-15 on one character with the pass is cool, but then getting multiple characters there is actually like pretty difficult if you just pick the game up, right? So like taking the game in moderation is something that a lot of casual and new players are going to want to do because there's so many other games to play at this stage that like, do you really want to spend 5 to 6 hours on Lost? You got to level all this, you got to do all their stuff every day, right? You're new, so you're not exactly the best with the characters. It's going to take you a long time to be able to get into that routine where you can finish everything in 2 to 3 hours. So multiplying one character by 6 for people, I think, is the best possible way for the game to go.
Yeah, I mean, can't disagree with that. You're the Lost Ark expert, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've been around for a really long time.
Honestly, Lost Ark can't pull me back.
I know you're gone. You're
I'm over it, man.
You're coped out in the ashes of creation, thinking it's going to be the future of gaming. But
it's an MMO killer. It's another MMO killer, quote unquote. Come and save the day.
Dragonflight's the new MMO killer. Yeah. No, we're all purged when the Riot MMO comes out. That's the reality. Star Citizen's never coming out. Let's just not even joke about Star Citizen. That game's never ever coming out, bro. That game's never coming out.
Coming out next year. TM.
Yeah. Well, I think that it's already like you already limit the rewards. Like, I don't know, just to think about it. Like, rewards are limited to 6 characters and giving me the ability to play 1 or 2, as many as I want, right? Like in a multiple of 6, where it's like, do you want to be 6 times on the Berserker? Do you want to be 3 times on the Berserker, 3 times on the Destroyer? Because you want to play both, which I would want to play both, right? So I'd just do that. It would definitely give me, I don't think it would be a negative update at all. I think it would be really positive for everybody. You're not getting more materials. If you're already sweating no lifing 6 characters, like, yeah, sure, like you could like try and gatekeep new people and be like, but I had to play these 6 guys, right? But like with the current rate of the downtrend, like you're not going to have anybody to play with by December. Like Belshazzar is going to come out and there's going to be like 3 bus groups and you're just going to have to pay to go play the raid, right?
I mean, if you're still playing 6 characters, you kind of want to play 6 characters.
Well, that's the thing. It doesn't affect you, right? You'll get more
so you can't get
opportunities on
mad.
the 6 characters than the other person will get on. Well, I mean, like it'll be the same opportunities, right? But like, you know, I guess add a little bit of an incentive for the person playing 6 characters, right? It needs to have a better new player experience because material generation for 6 characters in Lost Ark, in my opinion, is the material generation you need to progress one character correctly, right? If you're not paying to win. And it's very clear that there's massive hate for pay to win. So in any game, right? And like people were like, oh, but like this streamer's doing it, this streamer's doing it. They're memeing, dude. And then you watch them talk about it in like their off channels, and they're like, I just do it because it's funny. I don't care. And it is funny. It's fun to watch. It's hilarious. They meme out. They talk shit about the other people that do it, and they whale it up because they have infinite money, and they don't care. And it's fun to see it happen like that. But a lot of people don't understand that, like, just because it's funny to watch and it's funny to see doesn't mean that everybody can do it, and everybody shouldn't do it because it's just like, again, it's toxic monetization. But I think Lost Ark could go in a really positive direction if this cloud update's done correctly.
It's like a really rich dude playing poker, and he goes all in all the time. He's able to do that because he's really, really rich, but you shouldn't play like that.
You're like, I'm all in.
Try to win some money.
Horse 16. All right. There wasn't even a 16th horse. That sucks. Just like, there goes 10K. Honestly, the class balance update, Destroyer, oh my God, like goes sicko mode. The new ability is insane. The new engraving update for it is insane. Like Destroyer gets such a heated update. And I love bonking on my Destroyer. Seeing that come into the game is going to be absolutely massive. Like, I'm actually excited for this update.
Excited,
like, I'm pumped for this update. Like, a lot of people are like, all you do is shit on Lost Ark all day. That may be true. I do, but I love the game a lot, so I want to see it go in a proper direction. So, like, as much as shit as I talk, I still play all the time, and I have, like, what do I have? Right? How many hours do I have? Oh, that's New World. I have 1,800 hours on Lost Ark. That's...
Do you feel good about that?
I feel something.
You love the game, man. You love it. You love
I love it. No, I do. I really love it.
People say you hate it, but like, come on.
I love it. Yeah, and I want to see it go in the right direction. I want to see more people playing. I want to see people love the same things I love. But like, I don't want to play 6 characters a day, right? And you don't have to. You can wait for rest, and you can do whatever. But again, like, just make it more accessible for people. It doesn't really make a difference, right? Who cares, right? Just more people playing equals better game, more fun, and more fun is good. But the big update is probably the most fun. Like, that class mount makes a lot more characters relevant, makes a lot more things, like, just a lot better across the board. Like, the quality of life goes up, at least for Destroyer. And Berserker gets that fat, like, just flat 20% damage increase. I already rerolled. I'm set.
Is that update that's going to bring people back to the game, you think? Or
I think anybody who wanted to play Destroyer, which is like a very minor amount of people, like, yeah, I think that there's a couple other classes that would be like, people who play other classes would be like, yeah, maybe because of the change, right? I think that Scouter is coming out with the raid too. Or did Arcana come out with like, no, it didn't. Yeah. So I think that they're going to probably be like, okay, here's the raid. And then a couple weeks later, like, you know, like,
Power Pass. Here's a Power Pass.
No. They already said no Power Pass. What I would be excited for is a Battle Pass. I really want the Battle Pass again because, like, I bought the last Battle Pass. I thought it was a good buy. Like, you get a ton of stuff. It actually, like, with the Battle Pass, you feel like proper progression on your character. Like, it was actually really good at the time it came out.
Makes you progress your 7th alt quicker too.
I don't want 7 characters, right? And then the tripod system is just, the quality of life of the game goes through the roof. Like, rank 5 tripods make and break characters, like, literally make them so much better that, like, this update makes it prospectively easier to get rank 5 tripods than it is now, or at least gives you a progression curve to rank 5 tripods in like a all right manner, right? No matter what, like, I think people are going to come back to check out the new raid, and I think that that's good for the game. And I think that with all the quality of life stuff, and if the class balance updates, if all that stuff's in the update, right? Last time they delayed a couple things a couple of weeks. So if that's all the stuff that they're trying to add between the time frame of the new raid and Scouter, maybe. Just the main problem is a lot of the stuff that's getting updated is for characters that people don't really like. But like, the new animations are really what it's all about. The new Summoner animations, which, like, nobody really plays Summoner, right? The animations look amazing, so like, we want that update.
Hey, we asked for animations, remember?
I did remember. We talked about animations in the first podcast.
Not the way we asked them, but like, there's new animations at least.
Yeah, like the Destroyer animations look insane, by the
Yeah.
way. Like insane. Like when you want that class fantasy, that vibe, that feeling like you're just part of your character, right? That sounds, some people are like, you're cringe. Of course it is, bro. But I feel like a destroyer. You see me with the giant hammer. You see me swinging it around. You saw my neighbor laughing at me in the backyard in the destroyer video. She was howling, bro. She's sitting there laughing at me. I'm wearing my cardigan kimono thing, whatever. My reflector shades. Well, I don't know where my reflector shades went, actually. Oh, right here. Right? I'm wearing the reflector shades. I'm in the backyard. I turn around. I'm like, "What's up, dude?" You know,
I
like,
wonder if
just
you
like a
could.
complete idiot.
I wonder
It's
if you could
great.
show up to a LARPing community with your hammer and recreate your berserker with all their like spell books and stuff like that.
Do you think that I will be a destroyer? Excuse you, sir.
I'm a destroyer. Can I see your spell list so I can
LARPing convention walking with a giant inflatable hammer that says USA on it, even though I'm from Canada, with a big tinfoil hat that says amazing, and I'm just like, "What's up, dude?"
Can you pretend this is a sword, by the way? I'm trying to be berserker. Do you have a spell that's similar to a whirlwind? I like to spin around with this thing.
The destroyer character I have is such a douchebag. I love him so much. Like, he's just the best. Like, reflector shades, like, oh my god, bro. They're so fun to wear. Like, you know, everybody is either laughing at you or thinks you're an asshole if you're wearing reflector shades, and I think that's perfectly fine. But the idea is that everybody's laughing, right? And that was the whole point of it, and I love it. Like, so with the destroyer update, you already know that I'm going to have a big update on the destroyer video, and you're going to see me spinning around. You're going to see me jumping around outside with the big inflatable hammer again. What was funny was the grass was wet that day. So I was like swinging my hammer around, right? It was wet. My hammer was a little wet, you know? I came inside and I bonked my dad on the head with the hammer, and it got all over his head. He was so mad. It was so funny.
But a bunch of
It was a bunch of like
droplets coming off your hammer.
So, those are like the cool memories I get to make with the giant hammer. And destroyer, probably my favorite character I've ever played on any game, and like ever. Honestly, like I love destroyer.
Player fantasy.
Yeah, it's so cool. Like, it's just fun. And gravity hammer, everything about it makes me feel good, and that's like why I want to see Lost Ark do well, is because no other game has ever really made me feel like the destroyer character has.
Destroyer's nice, yeah.
Like, anybody who's played it too, it's like, it might not be the most popular character, but I've never heard anybody play destroyer and be like, "Oh, I hated that." Everybody's like, it's big, slow, dumb, and cool, right?
And they get the feel right. Like, you feel like you're swinging.
Yeah, dude. And the new perfect swing animation, let me tell you, bro, that it look I love it. Yeah, it's so clean, bro. Like, and the new abilities, everything about it is just so cool. And I want other people to have that experience too with Lost Ark, the same experience I had, where it makes me feel really good, right? And I see a lot of negative things, and like, it's easy to get caught up talking negative about Lost Ark because there's a lot of like bad monetization. And I think if they listened to the player base and like legitimately removed the fions and then like really followed through on this update and had like some big W's, it would be so good for the game. And that's all I want to see. I want to see it do good. Right?
You gotta have good monetization over here. Look at Diablo. Diablo Immortal.
The man Diablo Immortal too. Well, the thing is, like, people love phone games, right? And when I think about phone games, like, do you just because I don't really play phone games. Like, I play phone games, I'm taking a poop occasionally, right? When you play phone games, do you go outside and play phone games? Do you just sit inside? Like, would I just be sitting here playing my phone game in front of my computer? Like, or do I BlueStack it on my computer? Because the whole point of a phone game is that you don't have a setup to play it. You go outside and play your phone game.
You just lay in your bed. Just go on your phone, you know? While your girl's talking to you, just...
What if it's your boy? Be inclusive.
Well, if he's your boy, you don't ignore him. Cuddle him up.
Just Amazon games. The fact that they have the player survey, right, is so good. And a lot of people are like, oh, they're doing bad. And that was the first thing I thought. I was like, damn, daddy came and slapped them on the wrist, you know, because like he knows that they messed up, right? The higher ups know, like they see what's happening to the game, and they thought it probably initially like, oh, whoever's reporting to us is saying it's fine. Obviously it wasn't, right? And now they're seeing like, okay, now we need like real people feedback, because like the main feedback is remove fions and make it more accessible. I think my opinion about the accessibility thing is probably key. And any big update to Lost Ark is good.
Ironically, I think you're right about Mr. Bezos trying to light a fire in everybody's butt, because even like New World's coming out with the update, like a pretty huge one, right?
Yeah, the New World update is massive, and a lot of people remember. Like, well, maybe a lot of people don't remember. I do actually know a lot of people do remember. There was a lot of people in Lost Ark who were like, "Are you the Claysthetics from New World?" And I'd be like, "Yes,
yes, I am.
Yes, I am." And a lot of people knew me not specifically because of the videos, but because of this massive Google Doc that I wrote. Like, I was super into New World, bro. I was so deep. I was geeking, bro. I loved it. I thought it was so cool, and then they bombed it, right? Unfortunately, it is what it is. But like the New World update, Brimstone Sands is cracked. Like I think that's it.
Right.
When I remember World of Warcraft Cataclysm, the first time I went to Uldum, I was like, "Ooh, it's massive. The zone looks amazing. They reused Uldum like so many times in so many different ways, and it was
just be honest,
it's a cool zone
in
WoW.
Pyramid. It's their new raid's a pyramid, and you're addicted to pyramids.
I'm addicted to pyramids. Yeah.
Every time you play a survival game, first thing you build's a pyramid.
That's true.
First thing we destroy is a pyramid. So you see a pyramid, you're like, "Ooh,
I'm balls deep." Yeah, I love it. Well, the thing is, they have Roman and Egyptian architecture, and like the zone looks amazing. Like truly looks amazing. Like I don't want to fault New World for anything, other than the fact that like it was just mismanaged to the point of like it imploded, kind of like Lost Ark is. Right. I've been through Amazon games twice now, and I really hope I don't have to go through a third Amazon game like this because it breaks my heart. But the Google Doc, I had everything in it, right? And maybe I'll update it for Brimstone Sands. I haven't touched it in like, oh my god, like 8 months, right? It's been a while since New World actually came out.
How many people are playing New World?
20,000. I checked Steam charts. It's like 20,000. It's like 22 to 25,000, right? So with 2,000 player caps on the servers, it's not doing so hot. But like even I'm gonna go log in. I'm gonna check out the Brimstone Sand update. Like when I was playing New World, I was on Eden. I was in Richt, one of the best company on the server at the time, right? And we had Windsward, and they're just addressing this in a year later. Windsward and Everfall, right? I was making like 50, 60,000 gold a week, no cap. And people were like, they're struggling to make like 2,000, 3,000, but that's just from the guild payout. On top of that, I was making hundreds of thousands of gold a week, right? And anybody who followed me was banking, bro. Like we were like my whole community was giga rich, bro, on New World. Like we were so far ahead of the curve. It was disgusting. I had a guild bank with millions of gold in it, to the point where like 9 million gold was the absolute cap in a guild bank. Just nines, bro. It was insane. So I just started buying gear, and like I made gear videos that like where I would just roll the most expensive stuff in the game, because like it is what it is. You just have all this money. You might as well do something with it. So it was just like a Gamba New World like fiesta, bro. It was insane. But it's good to see that they didn't give up on the game, right? Because I hate when they gave up on Paragon. I was
redoing the buildings in all the old cities too, like all the copy pasta buildings. They're getting rid of all those.
I think that's so good though, right?
Right.
Even though it's a year later, and it'll leave a bad taste in people's mouths of like,
only a year feels like it's been longer, honestly.
It has. I mean, it's been dead for a while, right? But
feels like it's been like a while.
Just seeing the new zone though, like. Excuse me. Just seeing like the pyramids, seeing the new dungeon reminded me of Lazarus, right? I think it was a good idea for the dungeon, but I also think that adding more than just undead enemies would be cool. But I know that they're very limited on artists, because they've only released like me and Divine logged in for the summer festival for like an hour, and we took screenshots.
Oh my gosh.
They added like 2 skins, and this is like the easiest shit you could possibly do in a game. Just release some good skins, right? Like that's it. They bombed Lost Ark the same way. They were like, we're going to save all the good skins for later. Bro, if you would have released those skins when you had your first juice of players, everybody would have bought skins, bro. Like
you need to fix your servers too, not just like the skins. Like the servers are kind of a little chalky, man.
I think a lot of people are starting to notice it on Lost Ark, how bad the servers actually are. Because they very clearly started like downscaling the servers because less people are playing, right? And like the player cap on the servers for Lost Ark, which was very apparent a couple of weeks ago, Una and Azina were like yellow and red, and people were waiting in queue to log in. And this was Now this was about a month and a half ago, right when Vicus came out, right? So new raid hype, but like the servers were downscaled already, so like people were waiting to log in, and it was also like a botting issue too, right? So like it sucks, but
Amazon doesn't pay for good servers. Like Lost Ark servers are kind of meh, and then you have New World servers are always bad. They're 2,000 person servers, and like once you had like more than 20 people fighting against each other, the servers started getting
dude,
like you're taking photos.
Like I was involved in every big siege on New World for like a pretty when I played. I quit obviously because like why play, but I was involved in a lot of the big sieges. I have insane clips, right? I'll just run some of them. I was just running people down like crazy, right? I obviously played a broken build, but I did crazy things and I had a lot of fun doing those crazy things. The main issue that I ended up with was that like after the void, like the game was actually really good for the first 3 weeks. Like stability wise, there wasn't a lot of lag. Combat felt pretty good, very crisp, and on the beta it felt even better, right? But the combat felt crispy and smooth. And then they kept adding updates that removed the smoothness and the crispiness of the combat and made it more blocky. They made it harder to roll. They made it harder to like do anything in like medium to heavy armor, and they made light armor good, but like they added all these weird what was it? Some kind of attack batching, ability batching or whatever, made it so laggy to cast an ability, right? It was unplayable. I actually could barely play I couldn't play the game without exit lag, by the way. I live in like I live on the East Coast, so playing to the East Coast, like
WoW does,
lagging is bad.
Basically, where you like spam buttons and then you kind of queue it up.
Kind of, but in the sense that instead of that, it queues everybody's abilities up so that they'll go off at the same time, and then nothing goes off and everybody lags. So when the Void Gauntlet was out, it created insane lag, and they had the feedback for it. But the problem was that the Void Gauntlet lagged everybody out. Now, I don't see the same problem happening with the Greatsword because it doesn't have so many status effects. And that happens anytime you add status effects that affect like both positives and negatives. Like, plus health, plus damage, plus whatever, minus health, minus damage.
Stance dancing is going to cause, like, everybody's going to start stance dancing.
Okay, so I logged in and I played with the Greatsword a little bit, but it felt like a dead weight weapon early game. Right, and I think that that's the majority of the feedback. It's just not a fun weapon to use.
Do you get rid of your knockback? You get rid of knockback, apparently?
I don't know.
Apparently that's why some people might be hyped, because you can use it to tank and not get knocked back and stuff.
Is that the hype around it? I don't know. I was just farming mobs with the Greatsword, but
I mean, right?
I compared it to like the hammer and the hatchet and whatever, and like it was so much weaker than the hammer and the hatchet early game. But apparently late game, when you have all the traits and the scaling and whatever, it scales good late game. But it's like a lot of the scaling in New World isn't as complex as people like think it is. Like having 300 strength for the hatchet is the same as having 300 strength for the Greatsword, right? Like there's not a big difference, right? Unless it's a pure strength weapon. Well, it is technically a pure strength weapon, right? It doesn't really get that much of a big bonus towards it being actually that much better. And while you're leveling, like the hatchet is like probably your best item, right? So I watched a bunch of streams too. It's same complaint from everybody that the Greatsword feels weak. The Greatsword's gonna feel weak late game too, and like, sure, releasing something weak and then powering it up over time is the right way to go. But like, I'm just gonna be honest here. It works on BDO, works on other stuff. If you release the new thing as hype and not broken OP, but just a little OP, people will just come play and try it. They'll be like, "Oh, that's sick! I'm gonna play that. I'm gonna do that." And it's fun, right? And how
much people logged into New World when it first came out? Like a lot of people, right?
Okay, so actually, that's a funny one because 1 million people tried to log into New World, and only 278,000 or 320. I can't remember what the number was, but I think the initial launch day, not more than 278,000 people could actually log into the game. Everybody else was waiting in queue. So that is insane to me. That like. One, again, Amazon servers not the best. So like we have this Brimstone Sam's up. Bro, anybody who's playing Lost Ark right now knows on reset day, the whole server freezes, locks up, and then like, I actually saw a clip on Reddit. Somebody posted, he's like, this is the first time this has happened. Has the game gotten laggier? It's been like that for weeks. You just got lucky you didn't experience it at that point in time, right? The whole lobby will lock, right? Every single person in the lobby lags out. The boss stops, cast ability, boom.
Now, want to hear some copium? Actually,
hit me with it.
I thought of it just now. You said there was 1 million people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who bought the game? Guess what?
What?
That's potentially 1 million people that can log in and try the expansion out.
Oh, that's true. A million people won't because they. I think that
It's gonna happen.
no, Steam offered mass refunds at the time because like like
MMO killer.
MMO killer, yeah, mass refund
It's
MMO
gonna kill
killer.
WoW and it's gonna kill Final Fantasy. It's gonna kill Lost Ark.
I remember the
We're
hype,
coming
right?
back from the dead.
I was coped out and hyped, right? But
The
like
zombie game.
too many people refunded the game. I think that you could probably have like a 200,000 to 300,000 people resurgence of like on New World if the update was just like the best thing anybody's ever seen. The problem is like waiting a whole year to address like companies making that much gold. You got to think like I can log back into the game. I still have infinite money. Yeah, well, a lot of people came to me for advice and like guides because they were like they saw the Google Doc, which Matt, I'll just link it in the comments. It's dumb long and I put too much work into it, right? And I'll probably never ever update it. Like, let's just be honest. But the reality is, a lot of people came to me asking, and like I had a whole bunch of theory crafters, like we're all working together on it, and I think that the inherent problem with New World was like the lack of ability to listen to player feedback and like be that's why this player survey is for Lost Ark. They very clearly see like their direction for things isn't exactly working.
Well, it's a community shift, like in the company. It seems like
it's a good shift.
Lost Ark, but they're also doing that in like New World, where they're like, hey, the 1 to 25 experience is really bad. Let's kind of revamp it, I guess. They're doing that, but you still have to level up another 25 levels.
Yeah, so like the big problem. Well, okay, so initially,
like, why not do 1 to 50? Like revamp 1 to 50. Why 1 to 25? That's what
I think that the game's been out long enough. You're right that going 1 to 50 in New World, like initially it took like 2 to 3 days of like hardcore playing, maybe 4 days of hardcore playing to get to 50 or 60 or whatever it was, right? And like it wasn't exactly a good experience, right? Like it was a lot of the zones weren't finished, a lot of the stuff wasn't finished, and it's probably still not very polished, right? But like
the experience was you're doing with like you were doing with like 100,000 people or 2,000 people on the server at the exact same time, and everybody's leveling up for 4 days. So was it just like, you know?
It was fun, right? And like one of the ways to level was like these cool portals that spawned, and like you were just doing portals, you were hopping portals, and you had to because there's no EXP in this dead zone. Like it was like
I remember that,
farm portals for 10 levels, or you're not progressing. So like new players literally couldn't level, and that was from like 32 to 40. Yeah, 32 to 42, and then you went to Boars, and I went to Boars, and I got to 50. And then from 50, I did all the previous quests, and then they scaled the XP for some reason because of the way questing worked. So it lets you get to 50 to 60. But if you didn't do that, you didn't know that, you ended up getting a weird hang up at like 50, whatever it was. You ended up getting a weird hang up where like you couldn't really prog. And that was reported on the beta, right? I know way too much about New World because I was way too excited about it. And it never got fixed. So the problem ended up happening was that it's still like, even though 1 to 25 is revamped, like 1 to 50 needs to take no longer than 12 hours. And I know a lot of people are always, oh, new player experience again. Like you want new people to come in, you need to have like a 12-hour leveling experience. And it can't be like this.
Well, you gotta put a caveat on that. It could take more than 12 hours if it's a brand new game and it's like a fun experience. But like once the game's been out for like, let's say a year, the new experience shouldn't be a 4-day leveling.
No,
because everybody knows the real games at the end. When everybody wants to level up, so people are playing the game. People already seen everything that comes with the game and what's at the end of the line. Everybody wants to get the end of the line now.
One thing that I would like to see actually is fresh start competitive reset servers, right? So like, okay, the new server comes in, everything's boosted, right? Every reward's boosted, and it's just like they do it like a survival game. Like boom, the new stuff is out. You have 1 week, everything's juiced, like 300, 400, 500% like EXP money, whatever. Rip through the whole game, just boosted, right? You get right to the very end super quick. Like you have to re-level, you have to do all this stuff. Maybe you don't have to re-level, whatever, it doesn't matter. You redo the whole game, and then everybody's doing these territory wars, and you have a weekly reset server alongside the normal servers. And then it gives you that like survival experience while giving you a pretty decent MMO experience, because New World isn't like completely terrible.
I think it shines at MMO.
I think doing that would make it a lot more competitive. And like instead of having like and you could have a bunch of regions, I guess, right? But then you just make people fight back and forth. And then like the reward is like maybe tokens to buy like a skin on your main character on your main server, right? Or maybe just tokens to buy a skin in general for that's account wide, and then you get it like on the next thing. It's like, oh, you held Everfall for 7 days, so you get, or 6 days, right? Because you'd have to level up the first day. You held Everfall for the 6 days, boom, or 5 days, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And you get some extra tokens, you get some extra skins, and then you'd have like really competitive companies going to do it just for skins and rewards, and it would be like this hype event.
They probably would have had more success if instead of treating it like an MMO, they just treated it like another survival game, and they would have been the best MMO light survivor game on the market.
No, I think so. I think that if it would have been done correctly, it would have been a lot. It would have been a lot of fun. Like I had a blast playing New World. I have 1,000. Okay, I could just show.
I mean,
I think I showed it earlier.
Like if they kept the open world PvP and like just kind of marked it like, hey, it's like Age of Conan, like or like Rust without guns.
Like I have
enjoy
1,000 hours on New World, bro. Right?
Yeah.
I played so much New World when it first, and that's when it, like, I didn't play I played until like December, and I was barely logging in December, right? And like that was like whatever, right?
Yeah.
I played a lot.
A while ago.
Right. I was addicted. I loved it.
You say a year, but I find it hard to believe. I feel like the game's been out.
What did it come? It came out September, right?
Yeah. You know what it is? Because I think like Amazon's been dropping games. They drop New World and they drop Lost Ark, and it's just like seems like a lot, right?
Well, they dropped Paragon, canceled Paragon. They dropped New World, and they looked like they canceled New World, but like the reality was like they just weren't listening to the player base, and that's all New World turned out to be at the end of the day. And if they're going to listen to the player base, like maybe the game can go in a positive direction. But like this month, you're seeing a massive update from Amazon to listen to the community for Lost Ark and New World, and then you're seeing massive update for both games. And then
Bezos got mad, so he's like, do something,
guys. Number 3 on the list is, do they actually turn both games around and make them good? I think that we might be seeing a revitalization of both games if they keep going down their current path. And that's the positive mental I'm going to go with this week, because I've just been tearing them apart for like, oh my God, for a full year at this point.
Let's be honest, it's not just go too positive. Like it can go well, but they have to continue listening, right? Like they can't just listen once, then go like, la 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 la. Just continue the trend, right?
Hey, look at World of Warcraft, man. It's like you think you do, but you don't, and you don't have phones. And then they killed their company, they killed their games. Like you see what happens when you don't listen to the player base on MMOs specifically. It's hard to find like the proper voices to listen to for these games, right? Because like everybody can be right and everybody can be wrong, and like there's just some really loud minority opinions that like in these games that just like would kill them, right? Like I think a good example like World of Warcraft is probably like, oh yeah, remove templated PvP, right? But like the reality was, it's like, so all these people at the 0.01% were like, remove it, it's bad for the game. But like they just want to go blow people up in one hit, right? So like, it'd be like the same thing on Lost Ark, people saying remove templated PvP, which was a thing for a little bit, but like that's not going to happen, which is good, right? World of Warcraft always needed templated PvP. Everybody should be equal when you step into like an instance PvP thing, but let the player choose their stats. People aren't stupid enough to not be able to choose their stats. Like you can do it. People did it on Lost Ark.
Easy. People want balance in PvP, right?
Yep.
The essence of MMO is never balance, right?
Oh, it's always rock, paper, shotgun, and it's more fun when it's rock, paper, shotgun. That's the best part about playing an MMO is like sometimes your character is broken, and that's dope. But when your character sucks, you know why. It's like you go play WoW. Why does a warrior not beat a mage? Usually, right? Usually the mage would have to suck, right? Well, it's because mage counters warrior. Okay. Yeah. Does a DK blast the mage? Yes. Does a rogue blast the mage? 50-50. You know what I mean? But it's like there's different characters. It's fun to play rock, paper, shotgun.
But, in arena, the warrior can win because he has a paladin and give him freedom. He doesn't get frozen. And he can catch up to him.
Spell Reflex Light ability. You know what I mean? Like anything can happen, right? And I think that's the magic of an MMO is rock, paper, shotgun. But everybody needs to be equal. And I think a gear balanced PvP situation is good for the game. So like when you hear people saying to remove something that's good for the majority of people, that's when those are the people you shouldn't listen to, because like now that WoW doesn't have balanced PvP, like the game is infinitely less fun and like nobody cares about PvP anymore. They abandoned it themselves. They haven't had a battleground in years, right? So it's like you can see it, right? So
does Lost Ark have like a BG? Like a
Lost Ark does not have battlegrounds. No, well, kind of. They have like they do kind of have all the stuff that we're talking about.
GVG, right?
It's not gear balance though. So like, yeah, so like you run into like whale issues and it's not fun, right? But you would go play 3v3 and you're like, oh, this is fun because it's gear balance, right?
Yeah.
But that only takes you so far because new people don't like the PvP there, right? So when I see what the direction they're trying to take is listen to the player base, right? Yeah, it is a fine line to walk, but like when you do the player surveys, right? You can kind of get like what do the majority of people want, and if every single survey is like remove fions and make the game more playable for new people, so that way the game doesn't die, that's probably the direction they're going to go. And the scaling for New World, for just in general, like okay, so when we look at New World and like the player feedback, these are all things that were brought out in the first month, 2 months of the game that they're just fixing a year later, right? Yeah. But it's very clear that they didn't listen to any of this player feedback until now. Like, that's insane that you had to wait a year for that, but it's a good direction, and that's why.
Is it insane? I mean, I remember playing WoW, everybody complained about having the requirements to fly at the end of every expansion, where you had to get that dumb achievement. And yeah, really redundant. And then if you're a new player, you came back at the end of the expansion, you weren't getting flying for that expansion.
That was dumb.
They finally got rid of it. They finally got rid of it now.
Well, the best later. The best, like, yeah, and let's say you think you do, but you don't, right?
People were saying that shit for years, like, hey, get rid of this. We don't want to do all this. Just give us flying. It doesn't really matter.
Well, yeah, nobody cares, right? And the best time flying ever, like, when was the game the most popular? Burning Crusade, Wrath of the Lich King. What could you do with flying? Buy flying as soon as you hit max level.
And you're done. Yeah.
And you're done. You buy the doo-doo flying, and then you buy the fast flying when you're rich later.
And the doo-doo flying was always the cheapest too. Like
everybody bought the doo-doo flying, right? Everybody bought the doo-doo flying, and they were like, "This is fine," right? Having to get a bunch of achievements to fly seems ridiculous and like gated people in a weird, really terrible way. So,
and everybody hated it, and everybody's like, "Hey, get rid of it!" For years, like, "Get rid of it," and they're like, "You guys don't know nothing."
Right. So then you see,
do you have a fun?
Do you not have fun? But then you see like the positive movement from Amazon, right? And then when we start looking at that positive movement, you really see like, okay, Wrath of the Lich King came out, just like whatever, like WoW's Wrath of the Lich King came out, and you're like, okay, talent trees are back. You're like, whatever, like which DK are you playing, right? And like the old talent trees were a lot of fun. You know, I saw that tweet. It's like I saw Asmongold, I'm still waiting in queue. And I laughed. I was like, it's really just like the Wrath of the Lich King launch again. Everybody's waiting in queue to play Wrath, right? It's funny.
Everybody's a rep paladin and DK. Wow.
Now we just need everybody's accounts to get hacked so that you can use the authenticators. I found my physical authenticator. It's actually over in the corner because it still works, by the way. I don't use it anymore. It still works. Forever. Yeah.
Because you press the button like once a year or something.
But like you see that when you listen to the player feedback, the games actually start getting really good. Like when you listen to the majority of the player feedback, you can't listen to the minority 1%. You can't listen to the minority of the like the top end 1%. You can't listen to, and the bottom 1%. You can't listen to. You have to listen to all the people that are in the middle because they know what's good for the game. And that's always the perspective I try to take. I read all the comments. I always respond to all the comments too, personally, right? Because it's important to see like what people like, what people don't like, what people want, what people don't want, right? And you can directly see that by checking your comments, right? And you can directly see that, like, okay, once you filter through enough stuff, like you can just go onto the Reddit and be like, sure, Reddit, everybody's like, Reddit's just toxic and dumb. But like reading what people are saying about what you're playing is really important. And when a Reddit's censored,
PTR is important too.
Listening to the PTR feedback is important. Not listening to the PTR feedback like Blizzard hasn't done in like 15 years.
Are they going to listen to? Is New World and Amazon going to listen to?
I don't think there's Lost Ark PTR. The New World PTR. Last time I played New World PTR, they didn't listen to anything anybody said on it, so that was interesting. All those
new runes, right, coming out. So.
Oh yeah, I forgot the new runes, right? Like what was this? So I'll pop them on screen. Yeah, so Grasping Vines, so they have before we go into the Lost Ark tangent, there's new ultimate abilities, and they don't want them to be called ultimate abilities, but I'm just gonna read them. Survivor's Grasping Vines rune, right? And what it does is you just pop an AoE around you with a bunch of roots. Now I'll pop these on screen too. And then there's perks that you can get on these runes that are just like that enhance the abilities, right? And your second one's like greater stone form rune, which like you're a tank, and then Dominator Heretics rune, right? Big big AoE damage, seems like an initiator move, right, for your damage boys, and then Survivor's Cannon Blast rune, like your ranged support rune. You know what I mean? Like they have something for everybody and every character, right?
How broken they're gonna be.
Except the healing one. I didn't really. Oh, a stone form, I guess, right? And then charge yourself with explosive energy for 3 seconds, detonating, right? That seems like an assassin type deal thing, right?
I just think it's fun to use, to be honest. Get a little speed boost.
Yeah, I think it. You want to walk in and bomb. You want to have a cool setup, cool abilities. Like I have tons of cool things on New World that I did, but adding ultimate abilities to New World is something that is really good for the game, right? Like having that is good. Having an extra cool ability is cool. Having like such a limited combat system is fine, but like as long as it's not laggy, which it still is pretty laggy from what I watched on streams, like PvP is still pretty brutal, right? So fixing the lag and fixing the servers is the first thing you need to do, but adding all these things and listening to player feedback is like such a good direction, right? So when we start looking at Dragonflight and like you finally see Blizzard listening to player feedback after years and re-adding the Dragonflight talent trees is the coolest, biggest, best change I've ever seen them do. The new talent trees on WoW, I went over the Warlock one, got me hyped. I love Demonology Warlock, probably my favorite spec in the game, and I love Unholy and Frost DK, right? I usually only ever play Warlock. I only ever play DK. Those are my two characters I play on WoW. I just love them both. Those characters. Yeah, they're my favorite. And I know you love Paladin and you love Hunter.
I looked over the Paladin ones.
Yeah.
Kind of sad, but like, maybe they're going to change it up a bit.
I saw Savix, like his video about and all the things like, I want this, and this. And like, you can tell when a class designer for a character made the talent tree versus somebody who doesn't play the character made the talent tree.
Paladin guy never played a game. He never played Paladin.
As long as they listen to the feedback and like, maybe they should just make Savix the class designer for Paladin, but like,
why not, man?
When you see the feedback for that and you're like, okay, like this is actually pretty cool that like a lot of things are getting changed. The new talent trees are something that I think will be real. Everybody loves. I think it's amazing. I think it's the sickest thing that they've ever done. Right. So
that's the personality, your character again. You can, even if it's 1 point, you can feel like you did something different from the next guy.
There's multiple choices too, right? And obviously there's going to be a cookie cutter meta build like there is every single time, but like it's going to open up more opportunities for you to play in your own unique fashion, right? And there's going to be all these like cool different things that you can do yourself, like the Warlock trees in particular.
I mean,
like I can pick so many ways to play the character that it's actually just more fun for me.
There'll be cookie cutters, but like I don't think it'd be that bad because I don't think the talent trees are going to be that much for your DPS compared to like your gear. You know what I mean?
I think I've seen some, I think some classes perhaps, because some of the classes seem like their talent trees were like more util, but like for a Warlock specifically, like your talent tree is going to be most of your damage, like your early power spikes.
Warlock,
yeah. Well, Destro too, like Destro's always been like a pure talent thing, right? So it's like,
always been nutty, though.
Yeah, Warlock's always busted
all the time.
But like when I looked at the abilities on the talent tree, I'm like, all the different choices I can make can like, okay, wait, if I have a unique play style that like works for me, I can probably make that work better than it's ever been in WoW, right? Because I remember in Wrath of the Lich King, because it just came out, the old Warlock build was a Demonology Destruction hybrid where you used like Felguard plus
glyphs, right? Did someone use glyphs?
What's up?
Did we use glyphs then?
Yeah, we use glyphs. I'm pretty sure. But anyways, the talent tree, you would use like a Demonology Destruction hybrid build, and it was really strong, but not a lot of people ran it, but it was just a flat out most damage that you could possibly do as a Warlock. There wasn't a better build, right? So looking at like the talent tree, like, yeah, sure. Like, I don't think you can mix it. You can mix and match normal Warlock with like Demonology, but I don't think you can mix and match like Destruction and Demonology anymore. But that created a really unique build, and maybe they'll do that in the future. But I really think that the talent trees are just epic. Like the scale of being able to be like, do I want to pick my demonic tyrant or do I want to pick the nether portal? And finally, Warlock gets to summon a pit lord on WoW.
That's cool.
Yeah, cool. I was so hyped. I was like, man, even it's for 5 seconds off the nether portal, but the more you spend, the stronger he gets. Finally, bro. I remember people were hyping that up, like back in Wrathlisk, and they're like, wouldn't it be cool if we could summon a Pit Lord? And finally, you can summon a Pit Lord as a Warlock on World of Warcraft. I could not be like more ecstatic.
I was the Pit Lord to have a weapon in your bag, like they do with the Fel Lord.
Bro, when I played Shadowlands, I said I'm never playing WoW again. This game's trash. I read Pit Lord. I deleted my authenticator. Everything. I had to email Blizzard to get my info back. I had to send my ID in. So I want to go play now. Like I saw Pit Lord and boom, I'm in. I'm all in. I'm gonna play the new expansion, even if it's only for 2 or 3 weeks. That's when the WoW expansion is the most fun, anyways. 2 or 3 weeks. It's a blast.
Do you think Pit Lord's gonna be like a hard hitting spell, or like supplementary is gonna like boost your damage?
I think it's just gonna be a big fat boy. He's gonna pop in. He's gonna do a bunch of damage because it's based on your Nether portal summons demons based on the amount of soul shards you spend. So. Yeah. Which, like, you know, it's going to be like, okay, you're going to min-max, you're going to summon as many demons as possible. He's going to pop out. He's going to just pump the boss down with the quickness. And it's going to look cool. And I think that it doesn't really matter if it's good or bad. I'm going to use it because it looks cool. And it's a Pit Lord.
They have to make it look cool. They have to, right?
I don't think... Yeah, I mean, like that, it is what... If they don't make it look cool, if it's not like... If they don't summon, like, Manaroth, I'm going to be just pure disappointment. I want him to take the whole screen up.
It's going to be his little cousin... Baby Roth. It's just like a random one.
Dude, I remember I used to glitch the demonic skull out from like Legion, and it would just be it would be bigger than your screen, right? Like I could pop it through like the world, like eat the whole screen up. It was great. But like I really think that the talent trees are something that a lot of people sleep on being really fun. And I think that was something that like Lost Arks tripod system, insanely good, but like there's only one viable like option for each ability, right? For 3 tripods. And then you look at New World and there's only one viable option for everything. And then you look at WoW and it's like, well, there might only be certain viable options if you want to be the min-max DPS king. But like we saw it in Shadowlands, the majority of people aren't raiding Mythic anymore. Nobody cares. Like Mythic is
hard. You can't do it. You can't get 20 people to play perfectly for what? Like the last time we were raiding, it was like the longest raid boss was like 15 minutes.
Well, yeah, but like that's so boring. Like in Lost Ark, you can do a 15-minute fight, right? And it's like, okay, like it's challenging, but like thing about the Lost Ark characters is, okay, so one, you pop in with your Lost Ark character, you have to play your character effectively to do DPS, and you have to do the boss correctly. In WoW, for a long time, it's just been do the boss correctly and mash buttons. With the new talent trees, you're going to have to min-max your character. It's going to bring back that level of depth that Final Fantasy has, where you have to play the boss correctly and you have to play your character correctly, which is something Lost Ark does amazing, right? And Final does amazing. So WoW, re-adding that depth of playing your character at like a min-max level is going to make people feel and look so much better. The talent trees are just nothing but good for the game. Like they're so hyped. They're so insane. And I'm just excited. Like just thinking about the Warlock one, it's nuts. The DK ones, gonna be nuts, right?
I feel like for some of the abilities though, for some of the classes, they couldn't figure out what to put on the talent tree, so they took away some of the classes' core abilities and put on a talent tree.
That definitely happened for Priest. That happened for Priest for sure.
You're like, I see like it's happened to Paladin too, where you see some abilities and you're like Divine Steed's on the talent tree, but it's like a 3-5 second speed boost. Why am I putting? And it's 4 points.
Yeah, that's not good.
It's 4 points too.
That should be like a 1-pointer at the very start, because that's like a baseline Paladin thing. You need it. You know what I mean? You can't just have that. I get like why it's on the talent tree.
That's the only movement thing the Paladins have.
I get why it's on the talent tree though, but I don't get why it's 4 points. I don't get why it's where it is, honestly. Because I watched the Savage.
It's in the middle.
It doesn't make sense where it is. It doesn't make sense for its cost.
Like the guy never played Paladin. He couldn't figure out what to put on there, so he's like, I'm gonna put that there. They need to take that, so they're gonna go this way.
Like I've been talking about this pretty heavily in like the Discord and like other stuff too, and it's like I got to revitalize the WoW channel, I guess, because apparently there's a bunch of WoW gamers. Everybody wrote WoW off in Shadowlands, including myself, as like the game's done, right?
Everybody waits for WoW off. They quit and they come back, and they quit and they come back, or they quit and they watch videos about it.
I wrote Dragonflight off too. I think that the world looked very lackluster. No cap. Yeah, like no cap. I think the world looks. I think the world still looks lackluster, but I think as lackluster as the world looks, I think that the talent tree makes up for that in a lot of ways.
I think WoW you can play it in a certain way where it doesn't take a lot of time. I think me and you did it when we came back the first time before Shadowlands for BFA.
But that's why WoW's so good is you can sit there and go hard for 2 to 3 weeks, max your guy out, and then you can log in for like a little bit every day and like do whatever dailies, get your reps done, do your world quests, whatever you got to do, you can do it in about about an hour, and like you're done. And then once you're done everything in about a month, month and a half, usually 2 months, you're pretty much done everything unless you're farming for like mounts or pets or very specific things, right? You usually done the majority of the grind. And then you can just put the game on the back burner, log in when you need to for your raids, your dungeons, whatever, right? But that's the good thing about WoW is, and it keeps people coming back when you have the ability to do that, right? And that's where Lost Ark and New World fell really short, like honestly. And Lost Ark's always been like that since it came out. Is it wants to eat all your time, but that's not good. You want it to eat a certain amount of time, but you want people to feel free after a certain stage, right?
Well, so WoW was doing that, and they realized that was a big mistake. Now they're making a point to tell everybody when they're coming back, hey, we don't want to waste your time anymore. We're listening to everything. We're unlocking all the achievements character-wide. You don't need to do achievements to unlock flying anymore. Like, they're making an effort to tell these people these things because they know. Because everybody says everything about these game companies. No one listens.
Well, I think that now that the companies are starting to listen, like you're seeing positive feedback from the players and like they're gaining players, right? And it's like, I think at the end of the day, the devs and the companies were way too gassed up thinking that they couldn't fail no matter what.
MMO devs, because like, let's be honest, you make an MMO, you fail, but where else did it go? Like, that was the thing, right? Like, there's only a few MMOs, so like, these MMO players couldn't go anywhere. We couldn't go anywhere, right?
Now there's a million MMOs.
There's a lot of good MMOs. Like, I can go play Final Fantasy right now.
You can rotate through them, right? You can be, I want to go play Final this month. You're not going to go play WoW this month because, like, what are you going to do? You're going to go raid on Heroic? Like, that's another problem is, like, that Lost Ark has right now is that all the groups are carry groups, right? And you log into WoW, and it's all carry groups. I don't want to log in and see carry groups. I don't. I think that, one, carry groups are bad for the game. In general, right? And a lot of people disagreed with me on this, but I think that carry groups are slowly bleeding the life out of like the majority of these games at like the high end, and monetizing other people for like while you gain something too, right? Like you're just monetizing them. And like, yeah, sure, it helps them get it done. And yeah, sure, it helps the casual people get their stuff done. And it helps the whales get their stuff done. It helps everybody get their stuff done. But it's not good for the player progression curve of the game because then nobody actually gets better and people are just like, I'll just buy a carry this week. It also makes it harder to get into a group because the people who are selling the carries won't go join random groups. So
I think the issue is like, let's say I want to buy a carry, right? Because I want to go join your group. I get a carry, I get the gear, I get the kill. I look like I did it. I get in your group now. I don't know the fight because I got carried. I kind of like, meh. I perform bad. You get mad. You kick me. This happens to me a bunch of times. I'm like, I can never find a group.
Well, seeing as how I know that they won't remove carries, I think that they should add a specific tab. Like, it doesn't matter which game it is. There should be a carry tab. Like, if there's an LFG tool, add carries to the tab. If you post your carry in the LFG tab, you just get permaban. Like, I don't even want to see your shit. I'm not going to lie to you. Like, I don't want to see it. Just get rid of it. I don't want to see it at all. So I would honestly say perma too, because you're just being a dick at that point, right? Like if I want to LFG, like on Lost Ark, if I want to LFG, I don't want to scroll through 15 carry groups to see the 3 real groups. I just want to see the 3 real groups, right? If you're trying to sell something, have it in the sales tab. Same thing with WoW, have a sales tab. I know that like the bots and whatever, they're going to be like, yo, we're
selling on the auction house, man. Have a little like ticket system on the auction house.
That'd be cool too.
Go buy like a service and you join the group after you buy.
That'd be cool too.
Like, you know, make a little mercenary stuff, make it more RP-ish, you know?
Yeah, the crafting in Dragonflight looks amazing, right? Like, it's the first time I've seen crafting done well. Like, we talked about, like, the Gamba crafting on New World that I did, and Gamba crafting sucks. I'm not going to lie to you. Like, I spent millions of gold. I still have, like, legitimately the best gear you could get in New World.
All your fancy gear, like a Mr. Moneybags.
Dude, I had the armor gold. Like, I legitimately have this video where, like, I do, like, a special Christmas themed thing, and I'm walking around with my boy, who I also gave, like, all my off pieces that were, like, just as good as, like, I might had specific stuff on them that I wanted, right? And then he had specific stuff. So if I rolled his stuff, I'd just give it to him because he also helped me out a lot. He helped me farm a lot of this stuff early game that helped me snowball my eco. And his only rec was that I just hook him up.
He helped you a lot, bro. He
Yeah,
helped you so
Divine
much.
juiced me, right? And
you guys were like 5-heading in Discord every night. We're gonna do this. You gotta do this. Stop spending money. No more money spending this week.
I used to have a hit squad that would like, you know, they knew my usual farming routes and like they'd come pull up on me. A New World was a pretty small server, right? And like I could like 1v3, 1v4, right? Pretty usually. But like after that, like even 1v3 is rough, man. And I have some really good 1v3, 1v4 clips. But like after I had I literally would just be like paying Divine to walk around with me, right? I just be like, yeah, I'll just give you, and like we'd go make like 10, 20K gold, right? But like I'd be like, yeah, just come follow me around. I'll give you a couple thousand gold, or I'll just give you gear, whatever you want, right? Comes walks around with me, and we just like 2vx, whatever. You know, I get another guy 3vx, and you're like, why are you paying people to walk around with you? It's like, if I'm going to be ganked and I'm going to have to force somebody to walk around with me for 5-6 hours while I'm farming, I want to make it worth it for him to be there, right? And like, what ended up happening was I would just give him materials, but then he just gave me all the materials to just give me your offset armor, right? But he knew how much gold I was making because I had processing when nobody else did, like early, right? So I had everything leveled up, and boom, I was printing gold, right? Like I said, I printed money, and so I hooked them up. Crafting that Gambit gear was epic, and like getting the best stuff was really cool. So having the ability to go back and have those work orders, like you said, like there's that tickets, like, you know, like a ticket system, like buy a dungeon carry, but like you can put a ticket order in on the marketplace to buy something in Dragonflight, which I thought was really dope. Cool. Yeah, no, it's really cool. Like the auction house system's really, really cool on Dragonflight. I mean,
the whole crafting menu seems to took it from like New World too.
Yeah, well, it seemed like they saw the New World crafting. There's a lot of good elements in here done incorrectly, right? And then they did the WoW crafting, which WoW crafting's been pretty basic for a really long time. And then they combined them and actually made like a really good crafting system in Dragonflight. And I think that that's probably the best possible thing that could have happened for Dragonflight was new talent trees, good crafting. Like the base gameplay needs to be good enough where it's like, okay, am I going to keep coming back because the game feels good?
Yeah.
Is it pay to win?
Well,
No.
They needed a system of
WoW's
crafting. They needed a system of crafting in WoW to like progress further into the future. Like you said, like their crafting is like really was dated. It was like the basic MMO crafting of like the 90s. Get 5 ignites, 1 copper bar, and you make a chest.
Well, okay, to be honest with you, that was New World too. It's like I got the special crafter with all the dude. You had to have town to craft in New World was like an event. Like it was an event to go.
Oh yeah, but then you start getting jewels, and you got other things you have to add to it to make better stuff. But WoW was just always like basic this, basic
boring
that.
crafting. Dude.
Boom.
So having the new systems, master crafters, I'm excited. Honestly, like I said, I wrote Dragonflight off, and now I want to go play Dragonflight because I legitimately see it as like it has potential to be a decent World of Warcraft again. Like, even though the world still looks the same as it did in Shadowlands, nothing's really changed. Plato environment, whatever, right? I think that
there's a time skip apparently. All right, man.
There's a time skip in Plato. That's great. Yeah.
There's a time skip.
I'm excited for the time skip. Does that mean the whole old world's going to be changed too?
Gammon's going to be a little slightly older. He's going to have a gray beard.
I legitimately think that WoW has so much potential for the expansion. Again, like it's just potential. Like all 3 games have potential. Like I've loved all 3 of these games, right?
I'll be honest though, one thing I'm kind of depressed about Dragonflight is that they didn't make the dragons like more beefier. I wanted the Dragonflight to be more beefier than Dragonflight.
So here's the thing about that. I want in any game for there to be a character slider, and I also want there to be a mount slider. If I want a big fat mount or a big fat pet, like let's say I have a cat. I want it to be a big fat cat that waddles around because his tummy's too big. That's cute. I want my mount to do the same thing. If I want a swole mount, big muscled up dragon, let me have a big swolled up dragon. You want a little skinny...
Rumbleverse, remember? Remember the game we played, Rumbleverse? We just be the fat dudes running around wrestling.
Rumbleverse is really fun, yeah.
Like sometimes you want big.
Sorry, if I want to be a swole dude with pigtails, let me be a swole dude with pigtails. I don't care.
Right?
That's what I want.
What's wrong with that?
Nothing. They nerfed the flying on the mounts, which I think most people were disappointed about. And it's like, why would you do that? Right. I think that the core mechanics of any MMO, like in the future, should literally just be like not nerfing fun, because Blizzard's notorious just to like, okay, it's fun, we're going to nerf the fun, right? And the thing about WoW that I like is like, if you don't get in early, like, okay, some in the market you get in early, it's easy, but that's like any market in the world, right? But you don't get in early for the gear, you don't get in early, whatever, it's fine. On Lost Ark, it was you get in early, you get ahead. New World, get in early, get ahead. And now people on New World are, that's why I pitched in the fresh start servers or whatever and the reset servers, was like, people are too far ahead. Like if I'm at the stage that I am in New World where I have millions of gold and I could just log back in and do whatever I want, it's nice to be able to log back into Dragonflight. Everybody's reset to the same playing field, the very beginning of the expansion, right? And then it's capped, which I like. I like that you can only go so far before you're like, okay, this is the gate for the amount of power you're allowed to have for the first tier. I think that's good. I always like that about WoW, but I think that they need to bring gear balance PvP in, and WoW will succeed. I think it'll be I think it'll literally take over again if they do that. Until Riot MMO.
Riot MMO.
Yeah.
They keep teasing it, but they never really say much about it. Really excited for that one too, to be honest.
Riot MMO is sick.
Yeah.
Oh, well, Ash
is it gonna be sick?
Ash is simp. Ash is simp. I watched the Lazy Peon video. He's so into it, dude. You watch a couple of his videos, he's like not too excited about it. You know, he's got that droll voice. And then like you hear Ash's, it's like a little spark ignited in him and he's happy. But like one thing is this new Ash as a creation map really takes the cake on like, this is epic and cool. It looks really similar to the old World of Warcraft map, but with ocean, right? And they talk about it in their dev video where it's like, dude, we added so much space to this. And there was a game, people want a comparison of Ashes. People don't really understand Ashes. If we look at a game called Atlas, it had a node system and it died in the first day of its inception, right? Because it was just a copy paste of Arks, but it was bad. Yep. Atlas was trash. But Ashes looks good, right? And they've delayed their game multiple times because player feedback was, your game sucks. And this whole thing's really about player feedback. And
well, it's a quick starter game. It started on player feedback, really.
Yeah.
It started on the players and they kept it. It's weird enough, it's the only Kickstarter game like left that survived that Kickstarter era of MMOs.
Well, the idea of Atlas's node system, Star Citizen's dead, bro. The game's dead.
That's MMO, man. Most players.
No, I think that the Ashes map is literally just like a copy paste of the WoW map, right? Like just perspectively, like it really is just a WoW map. Like there is no cap about that. It's just a WoW map, right? Like, and you look at it and you're like, okay, like it is what it is. But the node system from Atlas got ported over, and you're like, you're gonna have the ability to upgrade and downgrade. I think that if there isn't a 2,000 player cap on the server, that it'll actually be a good game. Like it'll actually be fun. Like there's so much like potential for the game.
2,000 player cap and call yourself MMO.
I think a 2,000 player cap on a game is like that's, you're asking. It's an MMO.
It's a planet side server.
It's planet side, right? But the new map is hype. The update for like the node system is hype, and how many nodes there are is hype, and like the reason to upgrade and downgrade nodes, like different areas being valuable, the reason you would want to take an area, like it forces fighting for in end game areas, and that's good.
Cause bosses to spawn, I guess, too, right? Like the nodes are tied to the bosses that spawn on the map.
Yeah, they're tied to bosses, rare resources, powerful fortresses, better towns, castles, cities, like, and like the strategic locations. It's like, well, they have that strategic location, but the one beside it is just as good. And the only way to remove, like, to place this node and get it higher is to remove their node, like squash them. So you have to go beat them in PvP, destroy their node, and then build your node up. And I think that that's a good system because it creates constant fighting. The only thing that they have to do is make sure that like companies don't have 4 or 5 companies that are like, we're going to take this area. And then like, you know, I mean, it always is like that. There's always like cringe zergs that run around.
It's going to happen.
Yeah. So the cringe zerg is going to be real on Ashes, but like, honestly, the cringe zergs always make the game more fun. Any game I've played, the cringe zergs actually make the game like more fun, because when the people actually finally beat the cringe zerg, the cringe zerg quits the game and they're like super upset that they got beat.
They're the first to be like, oh, let's go home. I got something to do. Apparently adding like a mounts to New World or something.
I think that was speculation, right? Oswald was talking to that person, and
everybody's saying now. It's gonna happen, man. I mean,
okay, so I can tell you legitimately that the time to walk from the top or the bottom to the top of the map on New World is 58 minutes, and it was 46 with a hatchet out. So if you want to know how I know that, it's not a happy story, but it is what it is. And
that's horrible. What the?
If you wanted to walk like this was before the roads had speed, by the way. Adding a mount to New World is really good, and Ashes of Creation already has mounts, so it's already like in the place that it should be, right? No game should launch with it. No MMO needs to launch without mounts. Every map is too big to launch without mounts, and I think that like everything Ashes is bringing to the table. Like, what do we got? We have this whole Ashes of Creation informatics table, where what do you have? Node Wars and Castle Siege, Guild Wars, Arenas, Naval Combat. Naval Combat's always like a good idea, but nobody ever does it because the resources at sea aren't always the best. So hopefully there's pirates. I always wanted to be a pirate on an MMO, but I never get to be a pirate.
I want to steal the booty.
All you want is the booty.
Yes. You don't want no booty.
Player flagging. BDO player flagging is like good. I like open world PvP. I think that Lost Ark falls short by not being able to flag up open world. I think that at least in certain areas when you're contesting like resource, like if you're contesting gathering resources, you should be able to flag up. Caravans is escort a caravan. Well, what was caravan thing? So you escort a caravan through like X amount of nodes, and then like you get like it's either your resources, your guild's resources, or a town's resources. And if you can escort it the whole way, you get a reward, right? But if you gank the caravan, you get to steal all of the rewards from the caravan. That's always good.
Like how the level 6 node is called a Metropolis.
Metropolis.
It's really futuristic-y.
I use the big word.
It's like really anime.
I think that Ashes of Creation is probably the most anime-esque MMO that we're going to get. And I think that having the raids in open world and the raids, instance dungeons, whatever, and like they're based on which nodes are active is really important because like that means some people are going to want certain nodes to be active for you to be able to do the different adaptive content that they're calling it, right? And I think that adds a level of replayability to a game that we've never ever seen before. We've never seen what Ashes is trying to do with the new Ashes thing. But this is another thing: is Ashes ever actually going to come out? Like these systems sound good on paper, but like, are they actually going to work? Are they going to be able to make them work? Are they going to be able to make them work in the next 10 years? Like that's the real question.
They showed some of them. I mean, some of this stuff's already working. I'm pretty sure the node system's working.
Node system's been working for a while. But like there's so many things. I want to see them do it right, obviously, but like I'm wondering if they can actually do it, right? And I would love to see what they have to offer, because if they can actually do it, that's massive. And like Ashes is probably the most excited I've been for a game since I geeked out about New World, but then like I lost faith in Amazing. So Ashes of Creation is definitely what I'm interested in next.
Have you seen like the environment video for Ashes of Creation?
Yeah, so like upgrading from Unreal 4 to Unreal 5 was the best decision they've ever made, because having 100%. Dynamic weather, like the only other game with legitimate dynamic weather that does well is Black Desert Online.
The snow biomes and the dark biomes with like the fog and stuff look sick.
Right. So cinematically, when you go play BDO and you run through the different zones, there's fog, there's rain, there's a thunderstorm, it's night, it's daytime. Like this adds a level to the game that like immerses you and like pulls you in and keeps you there, right?
But it tells a story. It tells a story for the world that you're playing in, right?
Right. And World of Warcraft used to have dynamic weather, but it gets removed and added periodically for some reason, which is weird, right? So
performance issues.
Right. I don't care about performance issues. I would rather my computer heat up and me play on 10 FPS, and then I have like the immersion, and then I'm just sweating.
Like for you, it's like their servers are dying.
Yeah.
Too much.
Like, I don't care. I want it. Right.
Too much random math going on in the background every time you press a button.
That's fine. It's fine. But with Unreal 5, the way it comes in, it's not really gonna. It might heat your PC up, but it won't lag the server out, which is like the positive thing. Dynamic weather is going to immerse you. It's going to make you feel good. Could you imagine you're fighting like Imagination Time, where we're fighting a naval battle at sea, massive pirate ships, you're cannoning each other, things are popping off, and then there's a thunderstorm, the waves are getting bigger, there's thunder hitting the boats, people blowing up, and then you're just like, this is the best game I've ever played in my life. It's going to be so cinematic, and I think that a level of like when you get that cinematic value in a game, it adds so much value to it, and
Everybody's
it
looking
keeps
for
you
that in
there.
MMOs. Everybody wants that cinematic moment in MMO. Everybody's searching for that.
Well, that's something that Lost Ark has in PvP, but like nobody really gets to experience. The way some of the ultimates go off, they provide like this clip elemented, like cinematic level that is just like you see it and you're like, this is so sick. Like it's so cool, right? And I love that when games would do that. So
Lost Ark
seeing
is like
Ashes able to
Lost
do that.
class fantasy perfectly down.
Lost Ark's class fantasy is literally the best class fantasy any game, flat out. Like there's no game that does it better than Lost Ark for class fantasy. And like you could argue me on like which game is better, but like what game does it?
Berserkers and then Berserker the anime. Like you tell me they did that like by accident. Like
Right. And then it's like, okay, so it's like, yeah, BDO Berserker. No, not really, right? Like you turn into a doggo and you have a cannon that thematically it doesn't make sense, right? But like you go look at like, if you go play the card girl on Lost Ark Arcana, you feel like a magical girl, right? And like that's cool because some boys want to be magical girls too, and that shouldn't be gated to just girls. I have a magical girl, and it is what it is. Do something about it.
It's your 8th alt. keep adding alt for you. You can get up to 12 eventually.
I have 12 characters. I'm a whale. The Destroyer, thematically cool, right? So like seeing them add action combat to Ashes of Creation was one of the big W's for me, right? So seeing this brand new big map, right? Seeing it look like the WoW map threw me off a little bit, but it is what it is. See, like it doesn't really matter if it's the same map, whatever, right? If you're gonna take prospectively the greatest MMO map of all time and port it into your game and then just make it better, like you can't really fault them for that. It looks cool, right? And like the shapes are the same. That's why I'm calling it the WoW map. It looks kind of the same, right? Like where's the map? I have it right here.
It's more much more compressed. The WoW one's more longer. Like
yeah, so the WoW one's compressed and long, and this one's wider, right? And there's no Mists of Pandora. Well, I guess right. Like I guess this would be Mists, and then this would be the Lost Islands. You got the jungle. Yeah, like it really is.
What's the map without going to like all the different places?
That's the Maelstrom, right? This is Northrend, you know what I mean? This is something else, but like, okay, it's a lot different. It's kind of the same, honestly. It's kind of the same. It's kind of the same.
Kind of the same.
Kind of the same. But it's good. Like you can see the inspiration, right? And you're like, okay, they see like potential in that map that World of Warcraft has failed to use over the years. Like the map has been abandoned, right? But with the dynamic zones, I get to re-experience that stuff and be like, okay, maybe it's not WoW, but like this is so much better. So the only thing Ashes needs to do is hit that class fantasy. If they got like, the warrior, the like berserker with the big two-handed sword, like you saw it in its early stages in one of their dev videos, it looked amazing, right? It actually like for the first beginnings of it, looked really good. If they can just, I think that they're insane. They have like what 128 classes that you can combine
64,
and pick.
apparently.
64. I thought it was. Why did I think 128?
Sounds cooler.
128.
I mean, 64 is still a lot. Like, talk about games where there's like, hey, there's like 10 classes, but you can like mix and match the races too.
Well, it gives you so many options, right? That like, if they really get that like class fantasy feeling, like you pick, like you want to be the destroyer with the big hammer, right? And I pick the two classes that let me be the destroyer with the big hammer. That's massive. I need that. I think the game should have that. And if we get that, it's huge, right? Ashes of Creation has so many good things going for it that just seeing the map gets me excited. Then you see them hitting the mark on everything else, and you're like, every update from this is like they listen to player feedback and it gets better. And then the game's getting better and better and better. And then like now you saw the other 3 companies listen to it and their games are prospectively, well, Lost Ark hasn't done it yet, but we'll see.
Soon.
But New World and WoW are going in the right direction. Will they get better? Only if they keep doing it, right? But Ashes...
Continue listening? Maybe. That's the main thing.
Like, I forgot that there was a battle royale. But yeah, like, will they keep listening? Maybe. If they do, GG. I'm pretty sure Asmongold's just the voice of World of Warcraft, so like, and he like, you can't fault him being that he is correct about what he says about World of Warcraft. He's he's the World of Warcraft guy. Like,
He talks to a majority of players, I think, because like you said, like they listen to the 1% of WoW players that just raid over and over again. And what do they raid? Mythic? Who does that?
Yeah, nobody does that, right? But
You
like,
don't want to do that anymore.
I think
like,
you can really see what the majority of people want through him in WoW. And if they listen to usually his opinion, like, I mean, everything he said about WoW, I haven't found a fault with at all, right? And everybody can agree with that. So as long as they keep listening to the majority of the player base, then WoW gets better. And the more you listen to the top 1% on WoW, actually not even going to say that, because the top 1% of WoW said that the raids were too difficult for new people, so that their recruitment pools are too low and it's killing too many guilds. So like, it's cool to have a world first race and make the fights interesting, right? But making them too, like, it's not even that they were mechanically difficult, they were just bugged out. Like, what was it, Stone Legion Generals in the first raid in Shadowlands? The fight was just broke. We got there on the fight wasn't nerfed yet. We were raiding 6 hours a week. We got
to
there.
the point where it's like one person dies and you just had to wipe. It was like, oh.
Yeah, one person, and it was so, dude, and you got one-shotted by everything in the fight, right? Because like, and then like sometimes it bugs out, extra mob spawns, extra ability happens, everybody just dies, and you're like, okay, next pull. How is it
5
fun?
minutes in. Oh, chalk this waste of 5 minutes. Time to do it again.
And you just repeat and repeat, and it just breaks your group down over time. And like, that's the reason I didn't want to raid anymore, was because something like Stone Legion General should have never even made it past its inception, right? And sure, the best guilds might have beaten it, right? But like, when I'm casually strolling through Mythic, right? You know, like on month like 2 or 3, I don't want to fight the boss on hard mode, right?
No.
And then they don't have a recruitment pool. So like, their recruitment pool is so small that they can't really get new people and new blood into the scene. So like, you end up with the same people, and if they quit, then like,
the boss is so bad they kill the boss and they save scum the whole raid, so they don't have to go back and do Stone Legion Generals ever again. And you just gotta kill the Nathrius. So then people then we can't get no one to join Arks because we're on Stone Legion still, and everybody wants to go kill the Nathrius only.
Well, right. What I remember happened in WoW was like Stone Legion died, and then people's guilds blew up after the boss died because they were so burnt out from grinding the boss. So, like, the raids need to be easier on, as dumb as it sounds, the raids need to be easier on WoW. The raid needs to be able to be done without add-ons, and the fact that like the raids based around deadly boss mods to like remind you when something's happening, or like bigwigs, is like, it's stupid, right?
No, it's weak auras. Like, that's
weak auras, yeah, true.
Mods are like whatever.
Right? You need weak auras to play the game, right? Well, okay, just to look at Lost Arks raids, like, you don't need well, you can't have add-ons, right? So you just have to do the raid. So it's like, and things happen at certain HP bars, and World of Warcraft could very simply do the same thing with certain percentages of HP. They already do, right? So it's like, remove a level of complexity from the game because people aren't having fun. And it's very obvious that Mythic raiding is dying because the amount of guilds that have completed Mythic bosses has dropped drastically. Like, nobody cares anymore. And that, you got to make it fun and interesting to come back into, or people aren't going to do it. So I'm really hoping Ashes hits the mark with those instance dungeons and raids. It's just going to be like,
it's sad. It's sad because like raiding content was always like my favorite thing to do in any MMO. Just raiding, right? But
well,
then
it's like,
got to the point where the raiding I want to do is like hardcore raiding, and that's like super duper hardcore raiding.
And why is Mythic Plus so much more popular? Well, Mythic Plus is pretty simple, right? Like, yeah, sure, you need some weak auras and some deadly boss ones, but like, you're more focused on playing your character in Mythic Plus than you are focused on playing the dungeon. And you're focused on the route, obviously, but the route's pretty simple. You follow the tank, you play your character, you dodge the spells.
Right? Playing other people's characters too.
But like, I think at an conceptual level, like, Mythic Plus is just more fun in World of Warcraft because it's less complicated and more people can do it, right? And then you look at Mythic raiding and it's so convoluted. Like, there's just layers and layers and layers of just the dumbest things that could happen. And you're just like, some of the mechanics are really cool, but there was too much of a disconnect between, like, they removed having to play your character well from the raid to just follow your DPS rotation and then react to the mechanic. And you're not even reacting to the mechanic because you know when it's coming. So you're like, okay, I'm just going to do the mechanic.
It's the whack-a-mole era of DPSing that WoW kind of went into, because like what was it, BFA and all the corruptions and things were just popping up because of corruptions, and all these classes got these whack-a-mole like play styles. Same with Legion too, right? With legendaries, people start getting these procs and stuff. All these proc abilities are popping up. Fire mages got that like, oh, the double procs, 2 pyros in a row.
Yep.
If you get lucky, you get a free pot. Like all these procs things are popping up, right? And it became whack-a-mole, right? It's like, oh, this rotation's good. It's like, oh, when this thing pops up, click this. It's a giant ass bomb, right?
Yeah. And I think that added and removed elements to the game versus like when I look at Cataclysm for World of Warcraft, and well, when rating was the most popular, it was Wrath of Lich King, obviously, right? So like there was more an emphasis on playing your character well, right? And then there was raid mechanics to do, right? Like you look at Heroic Lich King, like there was a lot to do, but the main focus was on you and how good you were and how well you played your character. And then in Cataclysm, it was a lot of the same thing.
It was like you actually had to play in like your class a bit, but then you get all the best gear, and at the end of the raid, and like your character becomes a whack-a-mole character because you got like all the best gear and all the tier set bonuses. Tier set bonuses are a big thing.
Tier set bonuses, like that's like again, like Lost Ark did that with the gear. Like once you get your set bonuses, you're OP, right? And World of Warcraft had that real. I think set bonuses were cool, right? But making a new one for every raid sucked, right? And they said it was too much work, but like they could have just done it like Lost Ark, where your set bonus gets upgraded, which probably would have been the best way to go because like adding legendaries and like all this stuff to the game, like sure it sounds cool, but like it's now that it's not like a special thing. It's just another thing to have, and it's just kind of weird to be like, okay, you need this legendary.
Well, every set bonus ended up being a real ability your class ended up getting down the line.
Yeah, right, and that sucked.
Like you got like what, Divine Storm as a set bonus for a Ret Paladin, and eventually you just get it as a baseline ability because it was like, why can't we just have this? I think that happened with Warlock too, and a few other classes.
Yeah, except for the Pit Lord thing. Now I'm getting the Pit Lord, and life's going to be good. That's as simple as it gets. So when I see the 64, not 128 classes of Ashes of Creation, there's a lot of potential. And I think the most, like, I'm just reading this thing on the other screen about like what it has, right? I'll pop it up for you guys. But like, it's just a big Reddit post. And like, this is everything in the game, right? And like, I remember watching the different stuff about the different stuff, but this is the big one, marriage. Now, a lot of people hate on marriage in Final Fantasy.
Oh, we're getting married?
Yeah, we're getting married.
Nice.
Yep. But no, like the roleplay systems keep a certain level of players in the game. I remember the first time I took a bunch of people to Moonguard, like in the basement inn or whatever, these guys were like using emotes to like spam twerk on him, and they basically just took him in the basement of the inn, and I walked away and left him there. But it's funny to have those, like, they're memorable moments that happened like 10, 15 years ago. Like I'm never going to forget it. So it's like, it's one of those things where
we get married, we can have the same surname and it pops up like a little guild thing above our heads.
Well, no, I think it's cool, right? And having things like the RP value in a game is really big.
Apparently you can run a business based on role playing too or something. I want to be a bard.
I just want to run around and be a bonky boy with a big hammer, and I just want to just murk everything in front of me.
Castle sieges all day.
I would do Conquerors, but I used to do castle sieges all day. That's my favorite content in the game to do. But no, I think that out of everything we have here, like there's a lot of potential for every one of these games. And like now that it seems like we used to just flame devs for being trash, but now that they're listening, things could get better.
I mean, some of these devs want to play a good game too. So they're like, we have to actually make a good game.
Yeah, we ran out of games to play. Everything sucks. Time to make a good one. We're done. No more phone games, please.
We can't play COD anymore.
You know what I'm saying?
I'm saying.
So that was episode 3 of the You Know What I'm Saying podcast. Thank you guys for coming back this week. And I want to give a special shout out to the patrons. Thank you guys so much for the extra love. You know, that actually helps out a ton. And
thank you. Our Discord too.
Oh yeah, make sure you join the community Discord. It's linked in the description along with everything else that we talked about today. All those links are going to be linked in the description. So if you made it this far, thank you. And
let us know if you think any of these games are going to succeed and kill off Lost Ark or Final Fantasy or anything or WoW.
I think Ashes of Creation is going to kill these games, and then Riot MMO is going to kill Ashes, and then it's going to be a loop of death, spiral. No MMOs exist. League of Legends is their final goal because they're just going to turn the Riot MMO servers off and say, go play League. And that's the final frontier. See you guys next week, Sunday.